All right, guys, so today we are continuing our discussion on the introduction to the Civil War, but instead of doing our Cornell notes, we're going to be going into what's called a historical picture walk. So what that is, you will see some pictures around the classroom. They're labeled, all right, all over, and they'll have numbers to them, and you're going to walk up quietly. You're going to analyze what you see, you're going to interpret what you see, and then there'll be also some questions that might be associated with those pictures under it, and you're going to answer them to the best of your knowledge. Just make sure when you are answering your questions, you have complete sentences, proper grammar and punctuation, and your spelling is the best of your ability. If you have a problem with spelling, you have a question, you can just come up to me, or if you really want, you can look it up on your phone real quickly. That's the only reason you can use your phone for the assignment. Does anybody have any questions about how we want to do it? Ruben?
Could we work like together or in pairs of two?
So instead of doing pairs of two, why don't we just do the first one together, all right? And then we'll see how everybody gets that, and we'll go on from there. Sound good? All right, so the first picture that we actually have is right here, all right? This is the map of the United States during the Civil War time, all right? So can anybody give me the name of the two sides that were fighting during the Civil War time?
The North and the South.
Right, so the North and the South, right? So we have, obviously, you see where it's cut off, where the North is located. North is located in the blue, and you have South located in the red. And I know it might state up there in the key what they were also called, but can someone else tell me what also the North and South were labeled as?
The South is the Confederate States and the North is the Union.
Right. All right, so the North was the Union, right? They stayed together. They were all under Lincoln, right? They wanted to have free states, no slavery, whereas the Confederate states here in the red, they wanted to keep their slave states. So good job knowing both of those things. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, somebody want to just give me one of the states that's listed in the North?
New York.
What was it?
New York.
New York, right? Another one? Jody Ann? Pennsylvania, right? So there's two states, right? Again, just want to make sure we're all on the same page. The Union states, the North, the blue, okay? Someone give me one from the South? Zan?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. So really important about South Carolina, guys, just to stop you real quick. South Carolina is that first state to succeed. And when I say the word succeed, it means to break away from the Union. South Carolina liked how their state was, how their culture worked, right? They liked having slave trade because it helped them profitable, make them more profitable. So once Lincoln came about being president, South Carolina wanted to turn away, and they broke away, and they started. And why it's such a big deal is because after South Carolina did it, is when all those other states started to follow along. So it just kind of like took South Carolina to break that mold to go into it. So South Carolina is a good one, very important. And obviously you can see the rest. If somebody wants to give me one more, just for my own benefit, one more state that's in the red.
Texas.
Texas, right? Big old Texas. All right, so those are the North and South, but there's one other thing I want to include. Can anybody tell me the border states that are in the middle?
West Virginia State.
Sorry, I guess your lines messed you up. So there's Kentucky,
Oh,
KW,
Kentucky, yeah.
West Virginia, all right, and Missouri. So really important thing about these states, right? Being border states, does anybody know? It's okay if you don't. I know we were discussing a little bit yesterday. Jody Ann? They're important geographically, right? If you were going to come from the South and you wanted to go to the North, you had to go through these states. But the thing about these states is that they still wanted to have slavery, but they weren't really wanting to break from the Union because, you know, being with the Union had some good pros, more pros than cons. So what had to happen was here is that they had to have this understanding between Lincoln and the states that Lincoln wasn't going to make the laws any harder for them, but he still needed them for economic reasons, for transportation. As I was saying, if you had to go from the South to the North, you have to cut through these states. And also, each state came with its own individual army. So if you could convince someone to work with you, you could take their army. All right, so these states were really important during the Civil War. All right, everybody's on the same page still? All right, great, great. Just to give you a little more here, to go into it. Sorry, guys. The one big thing too is like being up here, West Virginia. So they actually weren't a border state right away. What happened was Virginia separated, right? They succeeded, and then West Virginia, or part of Virginia, wasn't really having it. So they went and created their own state, and it made them the border state. So during the Civil War, it's kind of cool. Virginia and West Virginia, or excuse me, West Virginia is made through the Civil War. So just to give you a little more added on to that. So that's kind of like how your picture walk's gonna go. You'll have those type of questions that I asked. Does anybody have any other questions about it?
Why are the gray, why are some of the states gray?
Okay, so great. So they weren't states yet. You'll notice they just say territories. All right, so they didn't have, I don't want to say they didn't have a reason to be in the game in the Civil War, because they definitely did. They just weren't under anybody yet. They hadn't joined the Union of the United States. Because at this time, everybody wanted to run their own state like it was like their own government. So.
And so like, what year did they start having, like, they start like coming in?
Meaning, who coming in?
Like the gray?
Over time after the years of the Civil War or during it, people start, because what's starting to happen is Lincoln's starting to unify the country. So one thing is, if you want to join the Union, you want to become a state, you can't have slavery. That was like the rule. So if you want to be one of these territories and you want to join the Union, you had to axe that out first. So there was like provisions. But he did, if you didn't have that, you would then get money and aid from your government. So there was good things in there.
Was it possible for people to go from the Confederate territories to the California and Oregon ones to the other thing?
Right, so the California, Oregon were still part of the North, right? So you could travel as a Confederate to other states, but something we talked about yesterday was total war. And what that means is that anything's fair game. So if you were a civilian from the Confederate part and you went to California and they seemed fit to kill you, then they seemed fit to kill you. Or if they seemed fit to take your money, anything went during that Civil War. So you had to really be careful if you were traveling, all right? And I just want to go into the next slide just to make sure we're all on the same page still, all right? Just so you can see what the second one looks like. All right, some questions you might see from this slide that I had put down is, which way are the slaves going to? All right, so this is a picture of the runaway, the Underground Railroad, right? The travels of the slaves when they were leaving during the Civil War, trying to get out. So some questions I might ask are, which direction are they going into, right? North, west, east, south? What bodies of water are getting used? Are they using the Atlantic Ocean? Are they using the Gulf of Mexico there? And then lastly, which might be hard, but it's when you get up to the picture, it's very detailed. There are things called sanctuary cities, right? Or, safe cities where they went to. Certain states have more than one. So I think 2 or 3 states up there have about 3 towns in it that were protected. So for the picture walk, one of the questions is also going to be, can you name which state or states had the most sanctuary cities in it, right? The most cities that have protection, all right? And just so we could, talk about this, you can see a lot, when they're leaving the South, a lot of people are going to the North, right? Obviously, because the North is free, okay? But you'll see they're also leaving and going to different countries, right? They're leaving the US. They're going down south, right? Down by the Bahamas, by Cuba, okay? So, a lot of different answers there. If you get stuck, there's a key right here, all right? It kind of gives you an idea. It talks to you about the first answer, the question I'm gonna give you, right? Quarters to escape free north, all right? Everybody have a good idea of everything?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So, I'm gonna hand out the papers now for you. If you have any questions, just let me know. And other than that, we're good to go. All right, sounds good. All right, so you guys can get up quietly. and start to go to your pictures. All right.